भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। So today we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 16. Krishna chastises the serpent Kaliya, text number 35. Please repeat after me. Tapaha su taptam kim anena purvam nirasta manena cha mana dena dharmaha atava sarva jana anukampaya yatah bhavan tushyati sarva jivah tapah sutaptam kimanena purvam tapasutaptam kimanena purvam nirastamanena chamanadena dharmo tava sarvajananukampaya yato bhavangs tushyati sarvajivah tapasutaptam kimanena purvam nirastamanena chamanadena dharmo tava sarvajananukampaya yato bhavangs tushyati sarvajivah tapah sutaptam kimanena purvam nirastamanena chamanadena dharmo tava sarvajananukampaya yato bhavangs tushyati sarvajivah tapah sutaptam kimanena purvam nirastamanena chamanadena dharmo tava sarvajananukampaya yato bhavangs tushyati sarvajivah. यतो भवांस तुष्यति सर्वजीवः। किमनेन पूर्वं निरस्तमानेन च मानदेन धर्मो तवा सर्वजनानुकंपया यतो भवांस तुष्यति सर्वजीवः। माताजी। tapassu taptam kimanena purvam nirastamanena chamanadena dharmo tava sarvajananukampaya yato bhavankstushyati sarvajivaha tapassu taptam kimanena purvam nirastamanena chamanadena dharmo tava sarvajananukampaya yato bhavankstushyati sarvajivaha. Tapaha, austerity. Sutaptam, properly performed. Kim, what? Anena, by this Kaliya. Purvam, in previous lives. Nirastamanena, being free from false pride. Cha, and manadena, giving respect to others. Dharmaha, religious duty. Atava, or else sarvajana, to all persons. Anukampaya, with compassion. Yataha, by which. Bhavan, your good self. Tushyati, is satisfied. Sarvajivaha, the source of life for all beings. Translation and commentary by the disciples of His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation: did our husband carefully perform austerities in a previous life with his mind free of pride and full of respect for others? Is that why you are pleased with him? Or did he in some previous existence carefully execute religious duties with compassion for all living beings? And is that why you, the life of all living beings, are now satisfied with him? Purport. In this regard, Srila Prabhupada comments in his Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Volume 1, Chapter 16, the Nagapatnis confirm that one cannot come in contact with Krishna without having executed pious activities in devotional service in one's previous lives. As Lord Chaitanya advised in his Shikshashtaka, one has to execute devotional service by humbly chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street and not expecting honor for oneself, but offering all kinds of honor to others. The Nagapatnis were astonished that although Kaliya had the body of a serpent as the result of grievous sinful activities, at the same time he was in contact with the Lord to the extent that the Lord's lotus feet were touching his hoods. Certainly this was not the ordinary result of pious activities. These two contradictory facts astonished them. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swaminiti Namine. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Tapa sutaptam kimanena purvam nirastamanena chamanadhena dharmo tava sarva jananukampaya yato bhavangs tushyati sarva jivaha. Did our husband carefully perform austerities in a previous life with his mind free of pride and full of respect for others? Is that why you are pleased with him? Or did he in some previous existence carefully execute religious duties with compassion for all living beings? And is that why you, the life of all living beings, are now satisfied with him? So we are continuing with the prayers offered by the Nagapatnis, wife of Kaliya. And we see here that one of the great qualities of a devotee is that they acknowledge whatever difficulty he is being put into. Acknowledge difficulty is being put into means even if there are difficulties the devotee is facing in his life, he sees that as a mercy of the Lord. And we can see here Nagapatnis first, from the beginning of the prayers, we can see that they are acknowledging that yes, he deserves a lot to be punished. That is definitely required. Now, they are continuing with like that. And in this particular verse, specifically, there is an astonishment expressed by Nagapatnis. What's happening here? What's happening with her husband? How is it that possible that your lotus feet is touching their hoods? Is touching his hood? How is it possible? The great rishis, the great munis, so many other spiritualists are practicing for millions and millions of years. They are doing tapasya, meditation, but it's very difficult to achieve such a state of being touched by your lotus feet. And in the upcoming verse, we will see how nicely they glorify. Even Lakshmi Devi is looking for such an opportunity. So they are pointing out here the astonishment that they see here. So they are saying, Tapassutaptam kimanena purvam. Maybe maybe is that a reason that in the previous life or in the previous lives he has performed some austerity which was pleasing to you? And austerity also, how it is performed properly. Sutaptam. Very nicely they have performed the austerity. Is that one of the reasons? They are questioning. And then the next line is very important, and the purport also explains that Nirastamanena chamanadhena. And they performed austerity with what kind of an attitude? They are pointing out. The attitude is of Nirastamanena, free from false pride, which is very difficult. Generally, we are all proud of our abilities, proud of our qualities, proud of our talents, proud of whatever strength we have, we are proud. But this is the point here they are making, that probably my husband, maybe he has performed austerities with this kind of an attitude. He has given up the pride. Probably that could be a reason. And not only that, manadhena. And in spite of performing austerities and being not proud, he was giving respect to others. It's exactly Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, the same word is being used, no? Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadhena. Same words are used here. Kirtaniya sadaharihi. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Sikshashtaka, in the beginning, he gives he glorifies the power of the Sankirtana movement or the power of the holy name. What are the great results one acquires by chanting the holy names of Krishna? The 7 great results, the 7 great success that happens by chanting the holy name. He puts it in right perspective, how the holy name is non-different from Krishna, how it purifies the heart, how he gives him the proper knowledge, proper understanding, how it enables one to experience bliss at every moment, and it makes him understand that he is an eternal servant of Krishna. And having said that, in the second verse, he points out that, and my dear Lord, you have thousands and thousands of names, millions of names. You have invested all your energies in all these names. But what does the last line says? Iha jani na durdhaivam, iha jani na anuragaha. Anuraga, there is no taste for chanting your holy names. This is my pitiable situation. So, on one hand, he is glorifying the power of the holy name, how the holy name is so merciful, how it can purify the heart of a devotee, practitioner. On the other hand, he says that unfortunately, I don't have any taste, so let me do something about it to take it with full vigor, or to surrender. I need to practice this. Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadhena. So free from false prestige, give up the pride, I mean, it's very difficult, but that's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is demanding. That's the prerequisite to chant the holy names. If you want to make progress in Krishna consciousness, we need to give up pride. We need to give up our false ego. Because love of Krishna and pride doesn't go together. It's contradictory. It doesn't happen. So if one has to develop love for Krishna, one should remember himself to be the servant of the servant of the servant. So they are pointing out that nirasta manena chamanadena. Probably in this attitude, he has performed the austerities. Yeah, generally you can see when you perform any kind of tapasya, there is always a tendency to become proud, correct? It could be anything. You may perform some task, you may sleep for less hours, or you may eat less, or you may take up a task for 90 days, or you may perform some Herculean task. So many examples we can see, and then after some, see, I can do it, he cannot do it. Or there is a general tendency to be proud. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very clearly puts it, Trunadapi sunichena, tarorapi sahishnuna. And he wanted to give a nice example. He said that when you fly on the aeroplane, and then from the top you see, so many, let's say if you assemble all, say some 10,000 people you assemble in one place, and you see from the top, you can see that, everything looks like a small grass. I mean, that's a good analogy he gave. It looks like a small grass means we are so tiny. Sometimes we think that, how to become humble. That is the Maharaj, His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami, in one of the class, he explained very nicely. Unless we are in a different state, then we can think how we can come to a normal state. Our normal constitutional position is being humble. So it's not an artificial position. Our artificial position is trying to be proud. Our artificial position itself is being humble. So actually it should not be a difficult task to remain humble. But because we are conditioned, we have so much ignorance, and we are identifying so much with the matter, we are trying to lord over the matter, and as a result, we need to with proper knowledge and proper understanding and taking shelter of Vaishnava, we need to develop this quality of remaining prideless and remaining humble. So the Nagapatnis, they go on to explain. The next thing the Nagapatnis are raising is that Dharmotava Sarva Jananukampaya. Now this is another amazing thing, another quality of a Vaishnava, is that he follows the religious principles, not for the sake of following some religious principle, means just following it as a ritual, but he knows the purpose behind following all those rituals, which is in our Vaishnava, our Acharyas have very, very nicely put that, the entire Vaishnava philosophy is to develop love for God, and while trying to develop love for God, parallelly you love all the other living entities, understanding that they are part and parcel of God, and then trying to do something for others. This is something amazing. Dharmotava sarva jananukampaya. So you follow the principles of your spiritual life, but at the same, who is an advanced devotee? An advanced devotee, he thinks of others' welfare. And there is Srila Prabhupada. Otherwise, there is no way we are all sitting here together. We are hearing Krishna Katha. And unless he had took the strain of traveling himself to the West, establishing the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and that spirit he has imbibed in his followers. So, when we are such neophytes, we are always thinking about ourselves, I, me, mine. That's our consciousness. Our consciousness is hovering on that platform. But then, from that consciousness to thinking of others' welfare, to be a giver, wow, that's something amazing. Yeah, we cannot artificially do that, but we can see from the lives of great personalities, and then in whatever small ways we should try to imbibe that. And then the more we develop that consciousness, the more we try to give ourselves to others. Giving ourselves to others means, let us make it very clear, not that we are talking about some social service, giving some good facility for a great education or for beauty or no such things. Helping others means really helping others to become servant of the Lord, because that will give them real happiness. That will make the conditioned soul to come out of the sufferings of this material world. That's why in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna points out, Atmopamyena sarvatra samam pashyati samam pashyati yo Arjuna. Sukam va yadiva dukkam sayogi paramomatah. Krishna says that who is the topmost yogi? He is the one samam pashyati sarvatra. He sees all the other living entities with the equal vision. What is the equal vision? He, in fact, whatever sufferings others are undergoing, he sees as that his own suffering. And he understands it and then he responds to it. We simply speak, in the modern days, many people speak about empathy, compassion. But what is that? Should be properly understood. Only a true Vaishnava has this real empathy and compassion. He sees the sufferings of the conditioned souls and he's trying to give a proper solution by trying to help them to take up to Krishna consciousness. He practices, he tries to purify himself. In that process, during that process, he also acknowledges that others are suffering. So he's trying to help them. So we can see the essence of the Vaishnava philosophy. Namaruchi Dive Joya. Jive Doya. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his song, Kabe Habe Bolo Sayyidina Amar, he concludes this. He concludes very clearly. He says that these two qualities one should develop. One should develop taste for chanting the holy name. That means what? Developing taste for chanting the holy names means one becomes a lover of God. One tries to love Krishna. Then one who wants to love Krishna, he definitely would like to chant the names of Krishna. And simultaneously he says, Jive Doya, trying to be compassionate to the fallen souls. And we can see here, that's being pointed out. Dharmotava sarva jananu kampaya. Sarva jananu kampaya, being merciful to all the living entities. And now comes the quandary. Now they are wondering, so yato bhavams tushyati sarva jivaha. So then they are pointing out, so my dear Lord, sarva jivaha tushyati. Actually, because you are the prana, you are the heart of all the living entities. Unless you are there, your presence is there, nobody can sustain their life. So you are giving life for all the living entities. So they are, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary is pointing out, so I think now it's time we have to, very politely they are requesting the Lord, maybe you should give up, now you are banging him on his head. So you have to allow him to survive, please excuse him. So like that they are very humbly requesting the Lord. So they are pointing out that you give happiness to all the living entities. Yato bhavams tushyati sarva jivaha. So because you are the life of all living beings. And also another thing is being pointed out is, and now maybe you are satisfied with him now, because he has, as we saw some 3 or 4 verses before, when they saw the mood of Kaliya, he has given up all his pride, and when the Lord was stamping on him, dancing on him, as the blood was coming out, gradually he understood that, okay, I am a number one fool, I need to surrender myself to the Lord. And when the wives of the Kaliya saw that, then they felt that maybe he should be spared. So my dear Lord, please consider. So that's the point here. In the purport, there is one more thing that is being pointed out, is that as in the beginning we discussed that the Nagapatnis were astonished that although Kaliya had the body of a serpent, as a result of grievous sinful activities, at the same time he was in contact with the Lord to the extent that the Lord's lotus feet were touching his hoods. So this was the quandary. They are trying to understand how is it possible. So they are coming up with these realizations. And so there is a background. Actually, some 3-4 days back we were discussing, a few devotees were discussing that, because Kaliya was so harsh, he was so abominable. So we were discussing that maybe why Krishna didn't kill him. Krishna should have killed him. But that's Krishna's nature. Krishna knows what to do, how to do. So when we don't have complete understanding, proper understanding, we may think that no, this fellow he should be ripped apart. But Krishna has a different plan. Krishna knows what's really good for someone. And we hear. So in the Garga Samhita, there is the background that is given, how so whatever they are pointing out in this verse, actually it has happened. He was a great rishi. So we will just little bit see from the Garga Samhita the background of what happened to how Kaliya, who became Kaliya, what happened to him, why he got into this situation. That's being explained. And in fact, a similar question is raised by Bahulashva to Narada Muni. He's raising that, how is it that, just wondering how Lord Krishna's lotus feet was placed on Kaliya's hoods. This is something, please explain. He's very humbly, he's requesting. So he's asking, So Narada Muni started to explain that there was a great rishi called Vedashira Muni. He was the son of Bhrigu Muni. He was performing austerities in the Vindhya hills. So we can see this name Vedashira in the descendants of Daksha's daughter Kadru, and then in Daksha's lineage, in the 6th canto, in other places you can see. I was just trying to look for the details of Vedashira Muni. It's being mentioned that he was one of the great rishis in the line of Bhrigu. So there was a great sage named Ashvira Muni. So actually, when this Vedashira Muni was performing austerities, another Muni by name Ashvashira, actually he had come to the place where this Vedashira was performing tapasya. That's what happened. So immediately, Vedashira, he said that, Mama ashrame tapo vipra ma kurya sukadhang nahi anyatra te tapo yogya bhumir nasti tapodhana. So he says that, Bhumi nasti tapodhana. You don't find any other place, why you have come to this place? He's asking. Don't perform austerities in my ashrama. So this is how. Immediately, duality. This is my ashrama, my place. Why are you poking your nose here? So this was the question. Although he was performing tapasya, he was deeply engrossed in meditation. This mamatvam, that I, me, mine, my place, nobody should put their feet here, this is my zone. This mentality was pointed out here. So Narada said, Shrutvata Veda Shiraso Vakyam Ya Ashvashira Munihi Krodha Yukto Rakta Netraha. Immediately, that he was so possessive and attached, he became immediately angry, and his face became red, eyes became red. Prahatang Munipungavam. So he was beginning his curse. So he said, so this Ashvashira, so he said, why are you asking this kind of questions? Now I will teach you a lesson. So he wanted to teach a lesson to Vedashira. He said that, actually, he was speaking philosophy here. Mahavishnur iyang bhumir nateme muni sattama katibir munibis chatra nakritam tapa uttamam. So tapa uttamam, he says that, what are you speaking? Already so many people in the past have performed austerities here. So why not I come and then perform austerities? Why are you stopping me? And this place does not belong to you, it belongs to Mahavishnu. He has created everything. Ishavase midam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. Everything belongs to the Lord, and you have forgotten that, and you are now asking me not to perform austerities. What is this? So this was the question he raised. And then he said that you are also becoming angry for no reason, and you hiss as if you are a snake. Become a snake. So he just gives him that. Tada sarpo bhavatvam hi. And he also said that Bhuyate Garudad Bhayam. So you will always be in fear of Garuda. So this is the curse. Now it didn't end there. Okay, it could have ended there. Now, because it is a confrontation between two rishis. Now Vedashira has to respond. Shri Vedashira uvacha Tvang maha dhurabhiprayo lagudrohe mahodyamaha karyarti kaka ivakau tvam kako bhavadhurmate. So he said that, okay, now I will show my power. You become a crow. So he says that, fool, for a slight offense, I didn't do big thing. You are just plotting me. Now I will take revenge. So on this earth you become a crow. And you become a crow and you suffer like that. You fool. Like that he is chastising him. Now seeing this situation, the Lord himself personally appeared. Lord Vishnu appeared there. And then he said that, I am very unhappy to see that both of you have cursed each other like this. I am not happy with the situation. And so the Lord further, he gives some benediction to both of them. Now the Lord is pointing out that actually both of you are very dear to me. Both of you are equal. I am seeing both of you equally. So you are like my two arms. The Lord is pointing out. You both the rishis are performing so many austerities. So you are like my two arms. And I can make my own words false. But both of you have given a curse. I cannot do anything about it. So, but all I can do is, I will place my footprints on your head. So he's giving to Vedashira that I will place my footprints on your head, and then in that way you will be relieved from this curse. Because of them, you will never fear Garuda. So that's the thing. Oh Ashvashira, hear my words, don't lament. Please don't lament. You will have the form of a crow, but you will have transcendental knowledge. Bhushanda, you remember this example, this Bhushanda, sometimes, you also in the story of Jagannath, he gives some information to Vidyapati. There is so much in narrations about Bhushanda. He became Bhushanda, actually. He became the very old crow with so much transcendental knowledge, because Krishna gives that blessings. He says, you'll become a crow, but you will have transcendental knowledge. And you will have yoga siddhis and the highest knowledge in the three worlds. It is also mentioned in the Puranas. So Vashishta also one time will go to meet Bhushanda, and then he will give him so much knowledge and other things. So this is the result. And you can see here, this is what has happened. And also Narada Muni says that Bhushanda, he became very devoted to Lord Ramachandra, and he was very powerful. He was a lamp shining on the meanings of all the scriptures. He was endowed with so much knowledge. And to Garuda he recited the Ramayana, that is also mentioned. So this is the background. So this is what happened actually. That's how he became Kaliya. And here exactly the Nagapatnis are pointing out that yes, probably you have performed great religious duties with compassion. And another thing that they are pointing out that, and also you have performed austerities with a great humble attitude, nirastamanena manadena, and also you are respectful for others. Now, there's a lesson for us to take home, that you can see in spiritual life, that's why it is said that it's like walking on a razor's edge. You may be practicing for several years, and if we keep things, if you approach in a very lethargical way, or if we just ignore the basic tenets of Krishna consciousness, anytime we can get into a great difficulty. So we can't take the process of Krishna consciousness very lightly. It could, since some of the verses are speaking about nirastamane, najmana dena, we can even sometimes we can peacefully sit and then see how are we taking our chanting of the holy names of Krishna. Every day we are doing japa. And Prabhupada has spoken about three stages, the offensive stage, the clearing stage, and the pure stage. Or, the same thing in the Sanskrit, Nama Aparad, Nama Bhas, and Shuddha Nam. So how much are we conscious to avoid Nama Aparad? How much are we conscious to go away from Nama Aparad to the Nama Bhas stage? What are we trying? We are hearing at the time of initiation, we got the beads, we will chant the 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we will follow the 4 regulative principles, and also we have been instructed on the 10 offenses against the holy name of the Lord. So it's not that unless we on our side take conscious efforts, it's not that some miracle is going to happen and then everything is going to go fine. So the efforts from the individual is also very much required. We need the mercy of the Lord, we need the mercy of the pure devotees. But then the pure devotee is giving us instruction what we need to do and what we should avoid. So how much are we trying? So maybe some 3 weeks back, one devotee was giving me a good advice. He said that, I'm seeing all the time and during japa, you are calling this person, calling that person, talking to him, talking to that. Looks like it's a bit difficult. We get lost with so much service and this and that. But then japa is a very conscious effort. So we should try to chant the names, we should try to hear the holy names with attention, because Krishna is giving so much instructions in the Bhagavad Gita as well. He says the mind is very difficult to control. Mind goes here and there, and we all have so many desires. The more the material desires are there, it becomes more difficult to hear the holy name, because our mind is coming up with so many different kinds of plans. And every one of us have this experience, every day we read, we engage in service, we associate with devotees. When we do all these things, our mind immediately it cools down actually. Cools down means we become more and more recipient to hear the holy name. We become more and more interested to study, to serve. And when we are not in this proper state, then we always come up with so many bad ideas, bad thoughts, or we are very negative about taking to the spiritual life, or there are difficulties in relationship with devotees, difficulties in trying to understand what is the missionary spirit we have, what we need to do, so many difficulties we have. So that's why they say that that there is achara, vichara, prachara. That means what? We should follow the instructions of our acharyas, We should try to understand, we should try to hear carefully, we should try to follow. And then, unless we follow, we cannot, unless we practice, we cannot preach. And then, while practicing, we may be fumbling, we may be going astray. So it's good to introspect. It's good to contemplate. So that's why we need association of devotees, we need help of devotees. So when maybe a devotee will give us a good feedback, we should take it in a very positive way, take it in good spirit, and then try to work on it. That's the whole point. Try to work on it, try to improve. We should never give up. So that's the very important point. And by engaging our mind in proper consciousness, trying to purify ourselves, then we will make progress. So that we see here. You see, it's amazing how these Nagapatnis are looking at the whole situation, how they are able to see, because they are so much, they are devotee of the Lord, and because of that they are able to see that maybe some pious activities my husband has performed. And in fact, we can think about our own lives. What pious activities we have performed? Maybe, specifically in these modern days, it's the piety is almost being killed. There is hardly anybody is having any pious activity. For us, if not for Srila Prabhupada starting this movement and spreading the holy names all around the world, going from town to town, village to village, what we would have been doing at this point of time? Who knows what each and every one of us would be doing. So the thing is that we should acknowledge that we have got tremendous mercy. Our piety is, Srila Prabhupada once said that actually when he was in the West, he said that what in the previous life what you'd have done, he said, I created piety for you. Prabhupada said. So definitely, the scriptures are also explaining that unless one has some piety, it is very difficult to come in touch with the practice of Krishna consciousness. Specifically, we also understand that the piety comes, the mercy of Krishna comes through his devotees, because the devotees travel to various places out of compassion, go and then meet everyone and try to give Krishna consciousness to others. Otherwise, it is not possible that how can we get this mercy? We may be totally unqualified, but the mercy comes through the pure devotees. Bhaktya sanjayate bhaktya. So bhakti comes from bhakti. So that's why, devotees, they try to, when we invite advanced devotees for program, so we try to invite as many people as possible, try to come and hear from the lips of a pure devotee, because that is the seed of bhakti which is inculcated in any conditioned soul. So the Lord is also equally very merciful, very compassionate. He is always waiting how to help us. So we should understand this. The only one thing is that we should understand that what are the difficulties we are having. We are having difficulties, we are very weak. Simultaneously, also we can see the Lord is ready to give us mercy. The Lord is waiting. Whatever may be our condition, if we are going to turn our face towards Him, the Lord is ready to help. The Lord is ready to help through His holy name, through His pure devotees. He is ready to give us all shelter. So we should understand our situation, pitiable situation. At the same time, we should not become so morose and so bad that, maybe I am a hopeless case. Nobody is a hopeless case. Because Krishna is very powerful. Krishna, in any abominable situation we are into, if we turn our face towards Him, if we surrender to Him, Krishna will save us. So that understanding we need to have. So the point that I am trying to say here is that, one is that, yes, we have to acknowledge our weakness, we have to acknowledge where are we, how we are conditioned. At the same time, we should appreciate the power of the holy name, the power of pure devotional service, the power of association of devotees, and the great mercy that we have got. And we should try to make endeavors to please Hari Guru Vaishnavas. So this is our process. This is a perfect process. And that's why we can see in the first verse, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Sikshashtakam, he glorifies the power of the holy name so much. And then in the second verse also he says about the result. The first verse, the results of the holy name, what one acquires by chanting the holy names, how the dirt is cleansed, how one can know his constitutional position, how one can be immersed in bliss every step. He explains that in the next verse. He glorifies the power of the holy name, how the Lord has invested all his energies. And then he says that, unfortunately, I don't have any taste for chanting your name. That there is no desire. Then he immediately puts it in the right perspective. But to chant your names incessantly, as the verse says, nirastamanena cha manadhena. So amanina manadhena. Let me try to endeavor. So that means what? Following the scriptures, following the authorities, following the Guru Parampara. This is also one of the definitions Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains about humility. Humility means not only keeping the hands very folded and then very pleasingly you speak. You also stick to the parampara. That means whatever is said in the scriptures, you don't deviate from that. You don't come up with some new concoction, new ideas, new introduce new ideas, new procedures. No, you just follow what the parampara has given, and very faithfully you try to surrender and serve the Lord and His pure devotees. Then we can make progress. So in the upcoming verses we will see how further actually the Nagapatnis are acknowledging the punishment that the Lord is rendering. Actually they are also acknowledging that it's actually not punishment, actually anukampa, it's your compassion. Very compassionately you have trying to help Kaliya. So I'll stop here. If you have any questions, comments. Yes, Prabhu. So the question is, Kaliya, we heard the story of how Kaliya, what is Kaliya's previous life. Is there any background about the Nagapatnis? I do not know. Well, also there is a whole lineage of, if you see the Kadrus, the sons and the daughters of Kadru, there are so many. She was actually, the snakes, so many different kinds of varieties of snakes. Kaliya is also, the mother of Kaliya is Kadru. So I don't know exactly what is Nagapatni's background. But one thing is for very much sure that they are devotees of the Lord, and we can see that. That's being explained. Maybe, probably, I don't know if there is some information in some Purana. Just one, yes, bro. Yes.
You mentioned, we understand that when one comes to devotional service, is some piety by mercy of devotees or mercy of the Lord is there, so therefore they are able to engage in the service. And what we experienced here, many years devotees doing, quite some service which is, it's not just some yoga or something, we just, sometimes devotees do very good service, but when some situation happens, some little they deviate or something happens, then seniors or the guru, then they advise, and they become so envious, and they become completely against the guru, against authorities, and they are so in such a way that they are ready to put the fortress and ready to blame, whatever is. How do we understand people who engage did a lot of service? So do we understand that? I don't know how it's happened and how they can go such extreme instead of taking advice and want more, but it happens completely opposite.
Yeah. So the question is that there are devotees who are, we can see them, they do a lot of service, quite some service they have done, but then at some point of time, for whatever reason, they have deviated a little bit, and then they have been advised by senior devotees or by the guru. Instead of taking it in right spirit, they completely turn against the guru, or they go to such an extent that they become so much against. So how to understand this? How can it be? Sometimes it's very bewildering to understand this. How they have done so much service, at the same time they're not even able to follow the instructions. So what is a little bit perspective on this is that, see, we are still from, if you see the stages from Shraddha to Prema, we are in different stages. So we have some, we are somehow empowered to perform some service and other things. At the same time, parallelly, maybe as there's so many different weeds that are growing, we were not very careful to, because the scriptures also say that one needs to, as a gardener, one need to be very careful to remove the weeds that is growing along with the practice of bhakti. So when we neglect that, then the weeds, so much weeds are there, and then even some good advice that is coming, we neglect it. Also, I think it's definitely there is a lot of pride, although it may not be externally seen, but that's their internal attitude. We don't. So the attitude, that's why I think we hear when the attitude of the follower is so important. The progress in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower. One may do so many things, but if the attitude is not proper, it's very dangerous. As you say, even Guru gives good instruction, or even any senior devotee may give a good instruction with good intention, but they completely take it the other way around. They think that they are my enemies. So it's very unfortunate. Well, unless there is a feeling of remorse, and yes, I need to correct myself, it's very difficult. I don't know, anybody has got any other insight they can tell. This is what I understand, because the weeds are growing. We are not working on the weeds. We are just taking more and more, trying to do so many things and ignoring. And also we can see sometimes the many basics we ignore during our practice of Krishna consciousness. It could be principles in sadhana bhakti which is very much required, and we ignore it. With respect to hearing, with respect to engaging in service, and so many things, factors, all these things. And over a period of time, it also becomes, you have become a kind of a senior person. Nobody can question you, nobody can say anything to you, and you are not ready to hear also. Then it becomes more worse. That's the situation. But here it's a very good instruction that they have given, that the wives of the Nagapatnis are saying that. So they are full of respect for others and also free from pride. This is also another amazing thing. Even one may be practicing Krishna consciousness for many years, and maybe some younger devotee does something, like see him as even if he does something, if your heart is really a very good heart you have, then you will appreciate whatever somebody has done also. But you see them, okay. This kind of attitudes, the scriptures doesn't say that it's not proper. Anything else, Prabhu? Yes. Yeah, we may continue to chant, but for our chanting to continue with proper attitude, and then the attitude of Trinadapi Sunijana is required. Pretty much. So that how we can cultivate that only in the association of devotees, reading, hearing, serving, and when we are being corrected, take it in good spirit. So many things are there. It's a big science. And that's why we need the shelter of devotees. There's one another verse I just remembered from after the Tadvidi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya. Krishna says we should humbly render service to Pariprashnena Sevaya. Then how does the verse go? Tadvidi Pranipatena ask submissive questions, render service. So and after that, once we do, what will be the result? Krishna says the next verse. He says that Yajñatva Punarmoham Evam Yasyasi Pandava Ena Bhuta Nacheshayani. So the same thing what the Nagapatnis are pointing out. Krishna says that one starts to look at others with a proper vision, seeing everyone as part and parcel of Krishna, and he develops love for them. He's a very advanced stage. So that means that one has to raise oneself to that stage. That we are all sadhakas, we are practicing, we are all having different kinds of, we all have so many different kinds of difficulties, but we should know that, okay, that's the stage, and where am I? So I need to work on myself. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada.